Alright, our next episode is called When the Bough Breaks. It's episode number 17, and it originally aired on February 13th, 1988, and it was written by Hannah Louise Shearer and directed by Kim Manners. Okay, and the plot with this particular episode, the Enterprise is following a series of faint energy readings, and they discover that there is a mythical planet nearby. And Troy is first sensing thousands of minds, so the Enterprise investigates this. And sure enough, a planet does materialize, and it's called Aldea. And it hosts a culture of thousands of years old, and it's highly advanced. And it's so advanced that they have a shield that's capable of protecting and cloaking the entire planet, which is why they didn't see it in the first place. So the Enterprise is greeted by the Aldeans, and they request a meeting with them. And they choose to meet with the Enterprise because the Aldeans reveal that they are unable to have children. And they ask the Enterprise if they could have some of their children in exchange for some scientific knowledge. And they think this is a great deal. They don't see any reason why the Enterprise would turn them down. But of course, the crew refuses, and when they do, the Aldeans actually take the children anyway. They materialize them off the ship onto the planet, including Wesley Crusher. Now, a short time later, the Aldeans do contact Picard and offer to negotiate a payment for the children, and Picard realizes that the Aldeans could disappear behind their shield and the Enterprise would lose the children forever. So he does decide to negotiate for that purpose. But the Aldeans decide during the negotiations just to demonstrate their power, that they're not somebody to mess with. They blast the Enterprise with a repulsor beam, and that shoves the Enterprise 3 days away, even if the Enterprise was traveling at warp 9, just to let them know how powerful they are. And by the time the Enterprise returns, Dr. Crusher has actually discovered why the Aldeans can't have any children. And Data has actually found a hole in their shield, because that's been their strategy to recover the children. Picard and Crusher actually beam down for the final negotiations, and while they're doing that, Riker and Data actually slip through the shield that Data has found, and they disable the Aldeans' main computer. And they also are able to turn off the Aldean shield. And what it turns out is that the Aldean shield has actually destroyed the ozone layer of the planet, and that actually subjected the inhabitants to a lot of lethal doses of radiation. And the radiation is what has caused a lot of the physical problems for the Aldeans, including not being able to have children. So without the computer, the Aldeans basically don't have any power. But after Picard is able to return the children to the Enterprise, he also offers the Aldeans the chance to be helped by the Federation to rebuild their society without relying on that life-threatening technology. And they're able to have children, so their race will continue. And the Aldeans accept this. And that's basically the plot line of this episode. And this particular plot is very similar to a plot in The Outer Limits back in 1964, in an episode called The Inheritors. And with that particular episode, an alien race was dying, and they've cleansed the planet of what had killed them, but they need new people to repopulate the planet, so they arrange for 5 children to be kidnapped from the Earth. And the difference here is that these children are unwanted ones, quote unquote. There was a blind girl, a boy suffering from a fatal illness, a cripple, and people like that. So that's highly parallels today where quote unquote unwanted children. And that's really a lesson that nobody's really unwanted, even if you have a disability. But I'm not sure. I haven't actually seen that particular episode, so hopefully they were making that a point in the Outer Limits. But that is a parallel with this particular episode. So, as far as the actual plot is concerned, I thought it was actually a pretty interesting idea. Kidnapping children to repopulate another planet. And I thought that was clever how an alien race just thought it was nothing just to trade them for something else. That never occurred to me that a culture would consider doing that. But hats off to the writers for coming up with that particular idea. And Wesley has a lot to do in this episode. He is the eldest children kidnapped, so he kind of acts as kind of the leader among the children. And he actually leads them on a hunger strike as a way to protest being kidnapped. Now, the new alien race there, the Aldeans, actually assign people to become their caretakers. And some of them are very kind, but Wesley has to coax them not to cooperate because they know that they're not going to be returned to the Enterprise if they do cooperate. So he plays a big role there. That's really all I have to say about this episode. It's a solid first season episode, and really well done. I don't really have any complaints to say about it. One thing I do like is that Picard says in this episode, "You have just committed an act of utter barbarity." And I think that's hilarious. And that's when they first kidnap the children. So you'll often see a lot of YouTube clips of people using that quote for various fake storylines, and I think that's really funny. But that's where that quote comes from this particular episode. So that's the episode, When the Bough Breaks. Obviously the title is from Rockabye Baby, When the Bough Breaks, the Cradle Will Fall. So yeah, stay tuned for next episode, guys. Thanks a lot.